Alrighty, so thanks for joining for the Blue Sync today. We're going to talk about cybersecurity a little bit. It's a big topic. Tons of stuff has been going on in the cybersecurity world. There's been so many changes recently that we need to discuss some things that are old, things that haven't changed, malware, phishing, things to do to protect yourself. These are just common good practices, whether it be in your work life, in your personal life. You want to try to apply these in any situation. So, hey, cybersecurity training. What is phishing and malware? Malware, specifically designed to disrupt or damage or gain unauthorized access to a computer system. So basically, any of those PDFs or those weird attachments that you see come in on emails that you're not sure if it's legit or not, the sender name doesn't match anything you're familiar with, that's potentially malware that they're sending you, something to disrupt or damage. So it could be a virus, it could be a type of file that will throw ads up on your screen, or where you think it's Microsoft trying to contact you because there's a bad link or something that's going on, that's what malware is. It's, basically the files that are going to infect your system. Phishing, it's sending email messages and masking to be reputable companies trying to trick you. So they kind of go hand in hand. They're going to try to phish you and use malware to infect your system. There's different types of phishing: spear phishing, targeted attacks on specific sets of people, vishing, when someone tries to trick you over the phone. And that still does happen, I'm sure, quite a bit. I get companies that call me all the time and say they're our vendor for internet services and they want to help me and they're our new representative. And although it's not really malicious, it's kind of targeted marketing. Um, but it is, trying to trick me into giving them information or signing up with them for a service that we haven't had with them at all in the past. Um, Schmishing, text messages. I know I've gotten a few of those UPS and toll scams in my phone. Um, Text messages. It's the new way. Hopefully, that is being worked on with all the new regulations that the government has and the FCC has been trying to port with, regarding our issue with current texting. We can't text right now because um, the third party agency that the government's working with hasn't approved our um, temporary, or they haven't allowed us to text yet because of whatever reasons on the back end we're still working on. But that's kind of what's going to stop people from sending all of those phishing and scammy text messages to you because you have to register a company, you have to register all of your phone numbers. And when it comes time where, you get 50 people out of the 100 people that clicked on that link on their device that said, report this as junk or spam. When that happens so much, a company will be shut down from being able to text any user in the United States. So this will help remove a bunch of those text messages from even getting to your phone. And then whaling, attacks at targeted at leadership of a company. They try to get, more company high-end documentations, tax forms, account numbers, things like that. So,
Yeah, Paul, funny story. I emailed myself the other day asking for something. I was like, wasn't that nice of me to email myself and ask me for company information? Obviously, it was a scammer that got my name off the internet, but I found it quite funny. So I wanted to share.
that does happen. Yeah. If you ever see an email from yourself and you did not send it, chances are it's somebody impersonating you and you need to be cautious. You know, for agents, their information is posted all over the internet. Their phone numbers, their names, their email addresses, they have to advertise. It's kind of that catch 22. You can't get your face and your name out there unless you get your face and your name out there. But by doing so, we give scammers the ability to target individuals or companies. So, we're kind of giving them all the information they need to try to impersonate somebody. There's only so much we can do to prevent that, but when it comes to staff, anybody who works for us and is staff and is not an agent and it does not market themselves on the internet, and if someone's trying to impersonate you, we know that they got that information from somewhere, and you should probably be cautious. Is there something that might be on your computer? Did you click on a link that you shouldn't have that might have accessed information that was on your screen? Did you fill out a web form that was trying to trick you into something or by giving them information? So, it makes you take a step back when you get that email or if you get that thing that's impersonating you, why are they impersonating you? I know, Carrie, your information's all out there, your name, your videos, everything. So you're going to be a target. How to spot a phishing email. Urgent, threatening language. That's probably the one of the most important things when looking at emails. When they say urgent action needed, most of the time there's not an urgent action. Most of the time it's somebody trying to trick you and more or less scare you into thinking, oh, I need to hurry up and do this really quick. I need to send them my social security number so I can get my $5 rebate. It's not urgent. Um, Suspicious links or attachments. If you see a PDF, well, if you happen to look at, the from address here, if you look at the from address and it shows you it's from, this example is Uline. This is a legitimate email, but I wanted to highlight the sections that you need to focus on. It says mailed by Uline, it's signed by Uline, and the from address is Uline. We order boxes and different shipping materials from them. So Uline, this email is legitimate based on this information and that I had requested information. I knew that this was legitimate. If the mailed by has some weird address and it doesn't even end with the .com, it'll say .com JP, which is Japan's prefix for internet domains. So that means that, that email might have come from Japan. And if it was signed by something else and it was sent by someone else, those are some things you want to look for. Because if those don't match and there's a PDF or a Word document that's attached to that email, do not click on that attachment. That's likely malware or a virus. So always pay attention to the email address and the mailed by and the signed by. Now, I bring this up only because this is somewhat of a newer thing now. Scammers have found a way to have the from address, the mailed by address, and a lot of that information, they can send that to where it matches now. There's a way for them to trick and forward information that was already, emails that were already attached and authenticated and verified. They found a way to forward those on to companies and individuals that would bypass a lot of the securities that are in place to prevent that from getting into your actual inbox. Requests for information. If anybody requests information from you, I know that HR, a lot of times they're targeted with people trying to say, hey, I need to update my direct deposit information. Can you do that for me? And it comes from an address that the HR has never seen or heard of before, but it may have an employee's name in the signature line. So, how to protect yourself. Never click on links or attachments unless you're 100% sure what you're clicking on. Check the email addresses. Use strong passwords and multi-factor authentication. And keep software up to date. So every piece of software on your personal and work computer, which we are working on the company computers here. There's been a lot of software installed in the past. So we're going to be removing a lot of that in the near future, stuff that's not used anymore. Because if it's on your computer, it still poses a risk and it still needs to be updated. And passwords and strong security. So multi-factor authentication or two-step or two-factor authentication, that's mandatory on most websites now. It is mandatory within the company aspects. There's still some accounts we're working on getting secured, but pretty soon that's going to be mandatory on any and all company accounts. I know that even Facebook and a lot of other websites have that. And that's where, the two-factor code, you're going to get a code sent to your phone and you enter that six-digit code into the website that verifies you are who you say you are. Because there's been so many passwords leaked. 10 billion passwords have been leaked in the last year or two online that people can plainly see. Just they can view it on the dark web, your email address, and right next to it, all of the passwords that it thinks and it has found for you. If a hacker or scammer wanted to get into one of your accounts, they could just use that information, put it into a form, and have it try to access 50, 100, 200 websites, Facebook, different banking sites. All of that's automatic, and AI is helping them do that, unfortunately. So it's AI is allowing scammers to get better at what they do, scam people. So, you're the first line of defense to try to protect yourself, protect your information, protect the company information. So just be cautious and know what you're clicking on. And what happens if you clicked on a link that you weren't supposed to, or downloaded a document you probably shouldn't have? Stop what you're doing, reach out to someone in IT, myself, Kelly, Carrie, Jessica, reach out to your manager, let them know if you don't know who else to talk to. Um, just let somebody know. We'll run a few scans on your computer, and just document any links that you might have clicked on or anything that you might have, looked at. Just take note of that. So when we ask you some questions, we can figure out, is this a serious situation or is it nothing? We may need to quarantine your computer and figure out, a case by case scenario, but yeah, just document and let someone know. If you think you might have clicked on something, you won't see it. It's not going to come up and say, "Hey, you've been infected. We're now taking over your computer." Well, I mean, that could happen because that's ransomware, but for most things, it's not going to just, flag and say, "Oh, you're safe" or "you're not safe" after you've clicked on a link. There may be things working in the background that you're not aware of that will yeah, that will be infecting your computer. So, right. Any questions, comments, concerns? It was a lot of information all at once. There's going to be more. We're going to have some more of these sessions.
Hey, Paul,
Hey,
how often should we be like clearing out our history and our cache and all that kind of stuff? Or how often should we turn our computer off and turn it back on?
so in regards to turning it out on and off, we're in the process of tweaking out how that's actually going to happen. But we're going to try to do the restarts of all company computers at some point at night. We probably won't make that, super public as to what time because there's lots of things they have to go on behind the scenes regarding updates, clearing of temporary data, and then those restarts. So, but the best recommendation would be to leave your computers on because if you shut your computer down when you go home and come in the following day, your computer might not have had those updates that were pushed out maybe at 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night. Um, Updates slow your computer down sometimes and it might need to restart it. So, we don't want that trying to slow your computer down during the middle of a Zoom call or a training in the middle of the day. So we push a lot of those updates to after hours. So I would say leave your computers on. We'll manage the sleep timers. We'll have them go to sleep and we'll have them restart. But the best bet would be, kind of leave those on for now.
Paul, don't you still go through? I've had somebody talking to me once a week and clean up our computers.
Maybe not once a week. It's probably a monthly basis that when it
Okay.
clears that stuff out, but there's different processes such as disk cleanup that we run. It's basically set in stages. There's going to be one week where it runs some updates, another week where it defrags and checks the disk. The next week it's gonna do that system restore process and clean up any other files. So we're trying to do it in, stages.
So you're gonna do it automatically and we don't need to worry about it then? Is that what you're saying?
The one type of history or cache that you would have to clean would be your Chrome history. Most of us use Chrome. So that's the history or cache that I don't clean, only because that signs you out of all your accounts when you do that. It is a good thing to run. I would say maybe monthly or quarterly. Go in there, click the three dots in the top right of Chrome, go to highlight history, go to delete browsing history, and then when the drop down appears, it may say the last hour. You want to pay attention and maybe say all time. Otherwise, it's only going to delete the last hour's worth of history, and typically that's not a lot. The bad files are saved in the cookies and the cache that were from 3 weeks ago, a month ago. So, I mean, it's always a good thing to do, especially if you're having problems with a website or logging in. You can't figure out what's wrong. Nobody else is having that issue but you. And it's likely your cookies or cache. So you go in there, you clear them, and then you try logging into that website again. Good question.
Great. Well, Paul, we really appreciate it. If you take anything away from this, just ask. If you don't know, if you're concerned, just ask Paul, Kelly, Jessica, myself, each other. You're all very smart. So if you don't know, don't hesitate to ask. We love questions. There is no stupid question. And that way it'll keep us all safe. So Paul, thank you so much for your time this morning. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Bye now.